Hello, I'm Hayes.
I'm Hobbin.
I'm Noah.
And we come from an Atlanta school which studies RCG. RCG is an abbreviation for race, class, and gender. It's a class where we learn how race, class, and gender are each important parts of our society and how each person grouped by these subjects is treated differently. For our race unit this year, we are doing an action project, which is where we make a project to spread awareness about a problem. We are going to focus on racism in the criminal justice system. We plan to find how the race of an individual can affect the amount of time they are sentenced for a crime by gathering statistics on sentencing and drug and gun violence between white, black, and Hispanics, and are looking for news articles comparing these situations and sentencing for different races.
Before we get into the rest of the video, we would like to summarize how the criminal justice system works. The criminal justice system is a process set in place to apprehend and punish criminals. The crime is investigated and suspects are arrested. Once a criminal has been found, they are sent to court and the lawyer can be hired or appointed by the court. The person is put on trial and they can make a case. A judge or jury will decide whether they are guilty or not. If they are guilty, they are given a sentence by a judge, and we suspect that the sentencing of their crime could vary because of their race.
We have compiled some statistics to show you the difference between sentences of people of color, which are longer and taken more seriously. Here are some general statistics of overall sentencing of black and white men. According to Joe Palazzolo, author of Racial Gap in Men's Sentencing, between December 2007 and September 2011, overall sentences of black men were 19.5% longer than white men in similar crimes. Also, the U.S. Sentencing Commission found that black men's prison sentences were 20% longer than white men in similar crimes.
To go more into depth on sentencing on different races, we have decided to look at average sentencing and imprisonment rates for drug and gun-related crimes. According to the United States Sentencing Committee in the year 2020, the racial discrepancy in sentencing is evident. On average, someone who is white is sentenced to 1 month for drug crimes and imprisoned for 2 months. Someone who is black is sentenced for 2 months and imprisoned for 3 months. And Hispanics are sentenced for 4 months and imprisoned for 5 months, showing Hispanics being sentenced the longest and the whites sentenced the least.
For firearm-related crimes, on average, a white person is sentenced for 42 months and imprisoned for 46 months. A black person is sentenced for 54 months and imprisoned for 56 months. And lastly, Hispanics are sentenced for 38 months and imprisoned for 40 months, showing black people being sentenced the longest and Hispanics being sentenced the least. The difference in the increase of imprisonment time compared to the original sentencing time occurs because time can be added to their existing charge by doing illegal things in prison. According to Studies.com article on prison violence, the most common crimes committed in jail are sexual or aggravated assault, theft, and possession of contraband, items like drugs, alcohol, and shanks. Next, we decided to find and look at 2 news articles that share the same crime and possibly similar situations and see if race had any play in the outcome of their sentencing.
Marcus Wilson, a biracial man, was approached by a group of teens on the highway. The group included 17-year-old Haley Hudson and her group of friends. Haley and her friends were in a pickup truck and they were yelling racial slurs at Wilson and tried to run his car off the road. Wilson, fearing for his life, shot the group and fatally shot Haley in self-defense. He was charged with murder and aggravated assault and decided to take his case to trial. Unfortunately, he was denied bond, so he has been in jail since mid-June in 2020. COVID has delayed his hearing and the earliest estimate date of trial would be early March. Compare that to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where Rittenhouse also stated to be in fear for his life and pleaded self-defense. He was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with a group of other people who said their objective was to protect business from protest. As things started to get heated, Kyle Rittenhouse was lunged at by Mr. Rosenbaum and fired at him. Then he was approached by a group of people saying, "That's the shooter," and he shot 2 more people. In total, shooting 3 people, killing 2 of them. Both of these crimes are very similar, but Kyle Rittenhouse got off innocent on all charges. Mark Wilson, a biracial man. Kyle Rittenhouse is white.
Hammond, a black man, was initially sent to court for possession of 5.9 grams of marijuana. It was such a small amount, even the judge made fun of the case. Judge Gatewood asked Hammond to plead guilty and he would only be fined. However, at the time, he was on probation for selling $40 of cocaine to an undercover cop and the judge that put him on probation gave him a suspended sentence of 20 years that he would face if he violated probation. Because of the marijuana charge, the probation was violated and Hammond received a 20-year sentence for $40 of cocaine and a small 5.9 gram of marijuana. Compare this to Callum Bird, a white man who was caught with over 4 pounds of marijuana, roughly amounting to $40,000, was only sentenced to around 2 years, while having almost 300 times the amount of marijuana Hammond had. In conclusion, the statistics from the United States Sentencing Commission that shows the discrepancy in the lengths of sentencings for blacks, whites, and Hispanics for drug and firearm crimes, and the news articles on Ronald Hammond and Callum Bird, and the huge difference in crime sentencing for similar drug crimes, and the news articles on Marcus Wilson and Kyle Rittenhouse self-defense situations, and how one was charged and the other wasn't, leads us to conclude that yes, race has effect on sentencing in the criminal justice system. This is not impossible to fix, though. The first step to resolving this problem is spreading awareness. Each of us can do our part to educate others. Also, we could support groups like Georgia Innocence Project and Equal Justice Initiative. There could be a standard punishment for each crime. For example, if you are caught with possession of X amount of drugs, in X amount, you are given an X amount of time in prison. For each crime, there can be a standard punishment. Another way to help fix this is to get people to protest against this and pressure leaders to make change.